How's it going in, soldiers? So you Commanding Officer Otaku Lord 2, and we're here, second episode of this Thursday, Throwback Toy Thursday. Like I said in the first video of tonight, this one's going to be a special one because this is technically a toy commercial, but it did not come off as a toy commercial, and you're about to see why. The uploader of this particular video was 3D Joe's. Let's see, hold on. I had it all set up. Yeah, 3D Joe's, like G.I. Joe. 3D Joe, as in G.I. Joe. You'll find there. It's only 31, and this is a particular, hopefully it's not someone reviewing it. A review of the review, a reaction of the review. Hopefully this is actually the video. It's only 31 seconds. And this is a famous commercial in toy history. And I'll explain why in a moment if you did not know. Here we go.
She's been kidnapped by Cobra. We have no alternative.
Call in G.I. Joe. Fight for freedom wherever there's trouble.
G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is there. This just took me by the balls and did not let go. You got that right. You heard that right. Marvel's Comics. And that was a TV commercial. That was the very first time anyone had aired a TV commercial for a comic book. Now, if you did not know, and this was based on the 1980s G.I. Joe, if you did not know, they were trying to combat the Star Wars craze. But they did not know how. And someone said, let's bring back G.I. Joe. Well, the owner didn't want to do that. His dad had done it to death. He felt it had only been canceled for 3 or 4 years, so there wasn't enough to bring it back yet. And they said, well, we got a surprise for you. It's actually going to be a book. And we can't air a toy line of this length, but we can a book. Well, where's the cover? It's a comic book. Well, why are you holding a book? Said the director, the CEO. And the guy said, well, we don't have one yet. He says, you can get me one, let's see what you can do. So they went to Marvel, and they got it together. And this was the very first ever in the world history, or at least the United States history, someone making a commercial about a comic book. And this hit me like a man, like I'd said during the video. It grabbed me by the balls. It did not let me go. I wanted this comic book so badly. I think I was 6 or 7. God, I wanted the comic so badly. And we didn't subscribe to comics until the 1990s with Transformers Generation 2 and X-Men 2099. But then later He-Man, this few years back. But we couldn't find the G.I. Joe comics over and over, and I would be sick, or I'd be waiting, or I'd come home from school, or my mom would pick me up from school. Did you find the G.I. Joe comic? Did you find the G.I. Joe comic? Did you find the G.I. Joe comic? No. Finally, about a year and a half later, she comes out of a drugstore and says, I got a surprise for you. Ta-da! There was G.I. Joe Marvel comic, issue number 19, and I loved it. Now, Marvel, this did so well, Marvel did a Transformers comic commercial. And they also did multiple G.I. Joe comic for the different issues. I didn't really like Transformers. In fact, the Transformer commercial for the comic book threw me off completely. I wasn't into this series. I didn't want to do anything. My best friend in the world, Manuel, got it. He said, it looked interesting to me. Here, read this. I read it. I fell in love with it. I became a Transformers fan that day. But no, this was my first entry into G.I. Joe. Did not know what G.I. Joe was, but it was like, And then the miniseries came out in 1982, and it was like, I think the miniseries came out before I ever got a comic book, so I knew the characters because I actually had the toys by that time. And then the miniseries, and then by the time the second miniseries came out in '83, I had started getting the comic book. But here's the second video for Throwback Toy Thursday. If you like that video, hit like, hit subscribe here on Reaction.CAM or on YouTube. It helps me out, and there's an alarm, I gotta do something. It's telling me you gotta get off the internet. But that being said, you guys have a good Thursday and a Friday, and I'll see you Saturday for Ruby Chibi, and ciao.